Sandy, you keep talking about commercial properties, so I want to ask, what standards do you use when choosing a commercial property? Also, didn't you recently recommend an industrial property to me? I feel like this industrial property is a bit too remote for me because I care more about location and cap rate. What do you think?
Actually, commercial property includes several types: retail shops, shopping centers, and industrial buildings. What I recommend is just one category within commercial real estate. When we look for an investment property, it depends entirely on your goal and what the building will be used for. For example, if you're buying residential property, then we consider, especially for us Asians who value education, good neighborhoods and good school districts. In fact, a good neighborhood usually means a good school district, right?
Yes.
So you look for places with good landscaping, a nice living environment, safety, and low crime. Your selection standards depend on your target asset. For housing, we focus on the surrounding environment, whether transportation is convenient, and whether it's convenient for school and employment.
Yes, these are all important.
But for commercial buildings, especially retail, population is the lifeline of retail. If you want a retail property, you look at foot traffic, car traffic, and whether population is dense, and even whether population trends are increasing or decreasing. These are important for retail properties. That's why retail usually survives in cities and densely populated areas where more people consume. Industrial properties are the opposite. First, industrial is large scale because you need to ship products. You need many big trucks and semi trailers going in and out. In a city, how can they move? They can't move at all. Large scale transportation and constant in and out traffic would be impossible. If it's inside a city, everything is stuck. Industrial use also has specific requirements. It can generate noise, and for big cities, that becomes pollution to residents' living environment. Very undesirable. Second, the scale must be large enough. Cities are densely packed with residential neighborhoods. Where can you find land on that scale? You need parking lots and loading docks. All of that requires a very large piece of land. And if it were in a city, the unit land price would be extremely expensive. First, you couldn't afford that cost. Second, even if you could, in a densely populated urban area, you simply can't find such a large parcel. So it's almost guaranteed that industrial buildings must be in more remote areas, owning their space, so transportation can move freely without traffic congestion. Industrial workers don't need car traffic, and it definitely doesn't need foot traffic. So, yes, it tends to be farther out.
But I'm also thinking about something else. I want this property to be passed down. In 20 years, will my kids really be willing to inherit a property out in the desert?
Honestly, you don't need to worry about that. Your kids are born and raised in the US. They are part of mainstream society. They're not like us who came from another country and carry old country thinking. The US is a nation of large scale industry and large scale agriculture, so they will understand that industrial assets belong where industrial assets need to be. Over those 20 years, you'll also have plenty of time to understand how industrial operations work. You don't need 20 years. Even 2 years is enough to understand the basics. Then 20 years later, they'll know it's a good asset. Because industry must be located where it won't affect residents' lives with noise and where there is enough land. It needs space for trucks to come in and out all day without causing traffic jams. For industrial properties, the most convenient thing is being close to freeway logistics, and transportation needs to be convenient. And when we say transportation convenience, we don't mean public transit. We mean freight and logistics convenience. You don't need high speed rail, subways, or buses. None of those matter. Freight is moved by trucks. That's why the industrial building I recommend is a very high quality industrial asset. First, it was newly built in 2024. Second, it has a long lease, 20 years. Third, it is absolute triple net. You don't manage anything, you just provide an account for rent deposits. Who cares where it is, right?
Right.
And you said it's remote. I don't think so. I checked the map. I also own a piece of land in Antelope Valley near Lancaster. This industrial building is 26 miles from my land, basically 30 minutes by car. Is that far?
Not really.
Lancaster is next to Palmdale, and Palmdale is a place with long term potential. About 25 years ago, Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, bought more than 800 acres of land in Palmdale. They want to build an airport and eventually move LAX there. That area is huge, about 5 times the size of the current LAX, so it has future development. If the airport moves to Palmdale, Palmdale is only about 30 miles from this industrial building. Then, this asset has strong upsides and prospects. But if you really can't accept it, I don't have that much time and energy to slowly brainwash you.
After hearing your conclusion today, I may want to take it myself because I didn't understand these things before. Thank you so much.
And this is not land. Land is a different topic. I generally don't recommend raw land because it doesn't generate income. But this is an industrial building. A building is different because it has cash flow, and the return is high, over 8% net, and it is absolute triple net. Look at all the advantages. First, it's large. Second, it was newly built in 2024. Third, it's absolute triple net. So good. Fourth, it has future development potential and a high return. The return is 8.8%. And even if you think it's remote, it's not truly remote.
I didn't understand earlier, but after your explanation, I realized, wow, this sounds like gold. I don't know if it's still available. Could you help me check again?
Yeah, I'll check whether it's still on the market. Because based on what I know, LAX is expected to move to Palmdale in the future, and Palmdale is only about 30 miles from this location. Looking at it with a growth mindset, it could appreciate. Looking at it without relying on growth, the investment return is already very high. Each year, you also have built in increases, growth rate, right?
So please help me take another look. If it's still available, let's move forward and secure it.
If I were choosing an investment building, I wouldn't worry at all about a 20-year lease with multiple renewal options. That's something far down the road. With a big company tenant, you really don't need to worry. Especially with Trump in office now and the push to bring back manufacturing to the US, these industrial buildings are strong.
Please help me keep an eye on it. I really hope I get the chance to buy it.
Of course.
Thank you very much. And thank you to myself for asking such a great question today. Thank you.
That's it for today. Bye bye.